Hey, hello, colleagues. This is Comfort, reaching you from Nigeria. How has it been? How has it been with us with our PACCDA course, the Paris Agreement on Climate as a Development Agenda, PACCDA? We are promoting this hashtag, and we really want to make very big impacts in our different countries. I am reaching you from Africa, and I really have already made up my mind to do a lot of work after this training and just continue or improve what I used to do before now. Before now, I've been involved in a number of projects that looks at climate change with governments in my location, but with this training, I intend to do more. So the objective of bringing up this video is to review week 4 activities, that we looked at. And I felt that it's very good for us to do this review so that we can keep the information fresh in our minds so that we can continue even after now to see what we can do with regards to week 4 course outline. So we looked at the economic dimension of sustainable development, climate change and climate action being week 4 course outline for Paris Agreement on Climate Change as a development agenda. So we were introduced to the key aspects of a transition to carbon neutral economic development, the actors involved, and the cost of inactions. So I would like to, I had a slide that I would like to share with us for us to, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So this is what we'll be looking at as a review for week 4, like I earlier said. So there's no, I didn't quite rehearse this video. I just opened up a PowerPoint slide and just did some copy and paste and extracted some information from the training platform so that I can share with us. So pardon my mistakes if I skip some very important points in week 4, but I just picked a few topics or subtopics to mention in the entire package, the lessons that have been shared with us. So highlighting low carbon development pathways, we discovered the role of cities and consumers to demonstrate that every one of us plays an important role in the transition to a carbon neutral economic and sustainable development. So we actually in the overall looked at 5 learning goals for the models. Number 1 was to be able to explain why climate change poses a threat to economic development and prosperity. We looked at we are expected to be able to describe the core benefits for the transition from the current fossil fuel-based economy towards a sustainable and climate-neutral economy, to describe the concepts and opportunities of sustainable energy, to explain why climate action makes business sense, and also to describe the key challenges of climate change for cities and the role of cities and citizens in global climate action. So for a sustainable economic development, we need to reverse the over-reliance on carbon-intensive energy sources. I think that's really got my attention because in Africa, we are still having some challenges with this, and I think we can drive some changes going forward as much as we can. So the decarbonization of the economy makes business sense. You know, I like that statement too. And a low carbon economic development is possible. So we also looked at how climate change threatens our economies in the following ways. And these threats are felt depending on the country and their economic situation. We saw direct economic losses, damages, deaths, and human displacements by increasing the frequency and intensity of floods, droughts, and sea level rise. We also saw an impact which is key that has to do with agricultural productivity because of land degradation and biodiversity loss. We also see the increased public health cost, climate change induced diseases, shorter life expectancy, and premature deaths, and increase also in public health costs. So it also threatens our economies when we look at reduced access to energy and natural resources, reduced access to energy and other natural resources such as water and land. So the lack for loss of infrastructure. Looks like I lost some connection. I'll connect you back to the slide. Cost for loss of infrastructure, poverty exacerbation, affecting energy sources of supply, rising demand, falling productivity, and rising prices of food systems. So, okay, just a second. Oh, sorry. Okay, so low carbon development pathways, we looked at this, and an interesting definition says that low carbon development is development with minimal output of greenhouse gas emissions. That's actually simplified, and the solution to the problems created by the carbon intense growth model are low carbon development pathways, a concept that has its roots in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1992. It focuses on addressing and integrating climate action into development objectives, thus transitioning national economic systems towards a low carbon climate resilient development. This transition, however, cannot and will not happen by itself. It requires commitment and action, monitoring and follow-up from all actors, being governments, private sector, the international community, academia, civil society, myself, and even you that is listening to this review. So the role of private sector. Okay, before I come to the role of private sector, let me mention the different carbon pricing instruments like you can see. So putting a price on carbon offers an opportunity to internalize the costs of emissions and functions as a mitigation policy option, actually. So through this price signal, consumption and investment patterns can also be shifted, making economic development compatible with climate protection. These are the carbon pricing instruments, being carbon taxation, crediting offsetting, emissions trading systems, and fossil fuel subsidy reforms. We looked into that seriously. So I'll look at the private sector roles. Not in depth, but I will just mention that the private sector has to be an equal partner, including large-scale energy utilities, venture capital, social entrepreneurs, oil and gas companies, and so on and so forth. Energy access is an achievable goal. Technology and finance are available, and it is technically feasible to keep global temperature below 2%. As the energy sector produces 2/3 of all human-made greenhouse gas emissions, the global energy system must undergo a profound transformation from one largely based on fossil fuels to one that enhances efficiency and is based on renewable energy. Renewable energy and energy efficiency provide the optimal pathway to cut emissions and reduce over 90% of the energy-related CO2 emissions. So climate change directly impacts businesses, as I earlier mentioned. It reduces agricultural productivity, disrupts logistics and supplies, causes damage to buildings and infrastructure, obstructs the access of businesses to affordable energy. So finally, caring for climate makes business sense. Okay, so I want you to also send your reviews to us, or we can put together a review session where 2 or 3 people can do some reviews of week 1, week 2, week 3. You can do the review with me, and then we can continuously keep talking about this and never stop until we see changes and we see sustainable changes. So I hope that this review has helped you to remember what we learned in week 4. We need to review week 1, week 2, week 3, week 5, week 6, and we need to have an overall review of all of the teaching outcomes. And I think the admins of PACCDA LinkedIn page will do a lot of work to make sure that we keep reviewing and keep continuing to learn. Continuous learning commitment is very, very important so that we can know what to do in our different sectors and how to influence the changes that we want. Until then, thank you for watching this video and hope to see you in the next webinar, being week 6, the very last webinar that is upcoming. Thank you and goodbye.